Hello, welcome to Fantasy Staircase Education's Vocal Theater, an Enlighten Moment. I'm your hostess, Lucia Luckett-Kelly, a professional storyteller, drama instructor, and performing artist. My thematic phrase for the month of July is, it flies, hops, crawls, or zzz, ouch, and stings. Today I will be sharing 4 stories. The Flea and the Man, the Grasshopper and the Owl, the Ant, and the Grasshopper and the Ants. This is all Aesop fables, the original tales. It was written that Aesop, or Aesop, has been known in history and in legend since the 5th century BC or earlier as a gifted Greek storyteller and the author of the world's best-known collection of fables. I got these stories from Barnes & Noble's classic books. The Flea and the Man. A flea bit a man and bit him again and again till he could stand it no longer, but made a thorough search for it, and at last succeeded in catching it. Holding it between his fingers and thumb, he said, or rather shouted, so angry was he, "Who are you? Pray, you wretched little creature, that you make so free with my person?" The flea, terrified, whimpered in a weak little voice, "Oh, sir, pray let me go. Don't kill me. I am such a little thing that I can't do you much harm." But the man laughed and said, "I'm going to kill you now at once. Whatever is bad has got to be destroyed, no matter how slight the harm it does." And the moral, do not waste your pity on a scamp. The Grasshopper and the Owl. An owl who lived in a hollow tree was in the habit of feeding by night and sleeping by day. But her slumbers were greatly disturbed by the chirping of a grasshopper who had taken up his abode in the branches. She begged him repeatedly to have some consideration for her comfort, but the grasshopper, if anything, only chirped the louder. At last the owl could stand it no longer, but determined to rid herself of the pest by means of a trick. Addressing herself to the grasshopper, she said in her pleasantest manner, "As I cannot sleep for your song, which, believe me, is as sweet as the notes of Apollo's lyre, I've a mind to taste some nectar, which Minerva gave me the other day. Oh, won't you come in and join me?" The grasshopper was flattered by the praise of his song, and his mouth, too. It watered at the mention of the delicious drink. So he said he would be delighted. No sooner had he got inside the hollow where the owl was sitting than she pounced upon him and ate him up. The Ant. Ants were once men and made their living by tilling the soil. But, not content with the results of their own work, they were always casting longing eyes upon the crops and fruits of their neighbors, which they stole whenever they got the chance and added to their own store. At last, their covetousness made Jupiter so angry that he changed them into ants. But, though their forms were changed, their nature remained the same. And so, to this day, they go about among the cornfields and gather the fruits of others' labor and store them up for their own use. And the moral, you may punish a thief, but his bent remains. The Grasshopper and the Ants. One fine day in winter, some ants were busy drying their store of corn, which had got rather damp during a long spell of rain. Presently up came a grasshopper and begged them to spare her a few grains. "For," she said, I am simply starving." The ants stopped work for a moment, though this was against their principles. "May we ask," said they, "what you were doing with yourself all last summer? Why didn't you collect a store of food for the winter?" "The fact is," replied the grasshopper, "I was so busy singing that I hadn't the time. If you spent the summer singing, replied the ants, you can't do better than spend the winter dancing. And they chuckled and went on with their work. I really enjoy narrating these fables to you. As a professional storyteller, I am creating a treasure of stories that I am willing to share. This is through audio, Zoom, live performance, or doing a video. I am delighted to perform to audiences that begin at 2 and end at 102 years old. I had a great time being interviewed and expressing why I'm so passionate about storytelling. Take a moment and listen to Vent with Candy podcast on iHeartRadio and hear me tell an exciting African-American folktale by Virginia Hamilton. Just click the link below this story. If you were invigorated by this enlightened moment, I invite you to check out my website, fantasystaircaseeducation.com. That is fantasy with a PH. And listen to my podcast, Stories from the Heart. You can now download my first podcast, Feather Frenzy, for free. I look forward to relating more enlightened moment stories with you very soon. Thank you.